Hey everyone, welcome to our real interview experience series. As you know, we share our subscriber interviews experience here. So one of our subscribers, Shubham Kumar Singh, recently cracked Java microservices developer interview at Oracle. In this video, I'm gonna share everything about his experience, what he shared with me. Okay, and guys, if you have attended any interview recently, then fill the form below in the description. We will reach out to you. You can choose to share your name, photo, and LinkedIn profile, or share your experience anonymously. We are also giving gift cards to participants, so don't miss out, and also don't forget to subscribe to catch more videos like this. So now let's get started. So he applied through LinkedIn and he's having almost 3 years of experience. After applying, he received a phone call from HR, which basically his telephonic round. During this round, HR asked some common questions about his skills, set, notice period, and location preferences. After that, he had a technical round of about 1 hour, then an HR round to discuss salary and other HR related stuff. In this video, I will discuss the technical interview questions only one by one with providing detailed explanations. The interview covered project discussion, core Java, Spring Boot, and coding question. So in the project discussion, he asked about projects, its architecture, flow, and contribution in the project. So you have to answer this as per your project. Then interviewer started asking core Java question, and first question was how static works in inheritance. So in Java, static members belong to the class rather than any instance. When inherited, static methods and fields can be accessed by child classes, but they are not overridden like instance method. Instead, they hide the superclass static members, which can still be accessed via the superclass name. Okay. Then he asked about call by value and call by reference. So basically Java uses call by value by default. This means when a method is called, a copy of the argument value is passed to the method parameters. Even when objects are passed, Java copies the value of the reference, not the object itself, so the original object remains unaffected. And then next he asked, can we change the scope of overridden method? Any rules for it? So yes, the scope of an overridden method can be changed, but it cannot be more restrictive than the original method. For example, if the base method is protected, the overriding method in the subclass can be protected or public but not private. This ensures accessibility is not reduced. Then interviewer asked about thread lifecycle. So a thread lifecycle in programming involves several stages: new, runnable, running, blocked, waiting, timed waiting, and terminated. Okay. Then he asked, can we write default and setting method in functional interface? If yes, will lambda expression will be allowed to use with it? So yes, we can include default and static methods in a functional interface without affecting its use. With lambda expressions, the interface still needs exactly one abstract method, which the lambda expression will implement. Default and static methods provide additionally functionality but do not interfere with lambda usage. Okay. Then he asked, if we have one int a is equal to 5 outside, can we use it in filter method in stream API to check the condition? So yes, we can use the variable int a is equal to 5 outside of a filter method in the stream API to check a condition. Okay. Before moving ahead, guys, I will like to share one important thing with you. Actually, we have launched complete interview preparation material structured step by step by myself, expert and MNC's interviewers. And the best part is that now no one need to go anywhere else to prepare interviews. There is a 99% chance that interviewers will ask questions from this material. Okay. So basically it contains a lot of material categorized by experience level, means each experience level has different material with all possible interview question and answers for Java, Spring Framework, Maven, Git, Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring Data JPA, Kafka, microservices, Java coding questions, Stream API coding questions, and many more. I have provided the link to get this in the below description, and if someone needs this material plus 2 real client enterprise projects for reference plus one-on-one lifetime doubt sessions and referrals to the big MNCs, then they should check the interview preparation kit. I'll provide this link for this description as well. So now moving to our interview experience. Then guys, interviewer asked about object cloning. So object cloning in programming is the process of creating an exact copy of an existing object. It basically duplicates the original object's state without affecting the original. Then guys, he asked about the method overriding rules. So method overriding rules include the method must have the same name and parameters as in the parent class. The return type must be the same or a subtype. Okay. Next, he asks the difference between reduce and map. Map and reduce are functional, primarily used in functional programming. Map transforms each element of a collection independently using a provided function, whereas reduce combines all elements of a collection into a single results using a binary function, typically to perform aggregations or computations. Then guys, he has the working of option dot off method. So the option dot off method in Java is used to create an option object containing a non-null value. If the value passed to option dot off is null, it throws a null pointer exception. This method is very useful for preventing null related errors by ensuring that the object is encapsulated and definitely not null. Then he asked one important question about lazy loading in stream. So the lazy loading in the stream refers to the technique where computation on element is delayed until absolutely necessary. Okay, this means that elements of a streams are not processed when they are added to the stream. Instead, processing occurs only when the final result of the stream pipeline is required. So guys, then he asked about terminal operation. So a terminal operation in Java streams is an operation that triggers the processing of the stream and produces a non-stream result. It consumes the stream to generate a final outcome such as a single value, a collection, or no value at all. Examples are for each, reduce, and collect. Then guys, interview asks a scenario where we can use flat map. So use flat map when we have a list of lists and you want to flatten it into a single stream. For example, if you have a list of different book categories, each containing a list of books, you can use flat map to create a single stream of all books. Okay. Then he asked about singleton design pattern. So the singleton design pattern ensures that a class has only one instance and provides a global point of access to it. It's commonly used for managing shared resources like database connection. Okay. And then interviewer asks about factory design pattern. So the factory design pattern is a creational pattern that provides a way to encapsulate object creation. Instead of directly using the new keyword, a factory method is used to create object. Okay. Then interviewer started asking about Spring Boot questions. So first they ask the difference between bean annotation and component annotation. So bean is used to explicitly declare a single bean mainly in configuration classes with full control over its instantiation, whereas component is a stereotype annotation making a class for automatic detection as a bean during class path scanning and simplifying the configuration by not requiring explicit bean definition. Okay. Then he asked about managing logging and monitoring of our application. So for logging, we can use log4j2. As you know, it is very popular to capture detailed logs of application activities and errors. For monitoring, we can implement Splunk. It is also very useful to analyze log data and monitor real-time performances metrics. This combination helps in identifying issues quickly, monitoring application health, and ensuring smooth operations through details, insights, and alerts. Next, he asks the different endpoints of actuators we have. So Spring Boot actuator provides several endpoints for application monitoring and management. Common ones includes our health for health status, info for general app information, metrics for performance metrics, env for environment properties, and logger for logging configuration. Then he asks about cross-origin annotation. So the cross-origin annotation in Spring Framework is used to enable cross-origin resource sharing. We call it CORS on specific handler classes or methods. This allows controlled access to the resources located on the external domain by specifying domain methods and headers that the browser should accept during the cross-origin request. Next, interview asks challenges in microservices as compared to the monolithic application, and this is also important question. So microservices introduce challenges like increased complexity in handling data consistency, managing multiple database, ensuring communication between services. They require sophisticated service discovery and fault tolerance strategies. Compared to monolithic application, microservices also demand more robust and complex infrastructure for deploying, monitoring, and scaling. Then he asked decomposition design pattern in microservices. So the decomposition design pattern in microservices involves breaking down a large application into the smaller independent services. Each service manages a specific business capabilities, allowing for easier development, deployment, and scaling. Then he asked how microservices health and logs are checked. So microservices health and logs are monitored using tools like Prometheus for health checks and Grafana for visualizing matrices. Logs are aggregated and analyzed using the centralized logging solutions like ELK, and we call it Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, or we can also use Splunk, allowing for real-time monitoring and troubleshooting across distributed services. Then he asked about the response body, inject, request parameter annotation. So response body maps a method's returns value directly to the response body. Inject offers Java-based dependency injection similar to Spring's auto-add. Okay, then third one is request parameter. It binds method parameters to the web request parameters, aiding in data extraction from queries. Then guys, he asked about Spring REST endpoint security. So Spring REST endpoint security refers to protecting HTTP endpoints in a Spring application. It's typically implemented using a Spring security, which provides authentication and authorization mechanisms such as Auth2, JOD to ensure that only authenticated and authorized users can access specific resources within the application. Okay guys, then he asked the difference between put and patch. So the put method replaces an entire resource with the new data provided, whereas the patch methods partially updates an existing resources with the specified changes only. Okay, put requires a full resource representation while patch only needs the differences. Then he asked some JDBC question like Spring JDBC and Spring Data JP, difference between them. So the Spring JDBC offers a low-level approach database interaction using SQL queries directly, providing control over database operations, whereas Spring Data JPA abstracts database interaction and enabling high-level operations via Java Persistence API. It automates common tasks like querying, reducing boilerplate code, and simplifying data access. Next, he has different cascading system types in JPA and what is the default. So in the JPA, cascading types are persist, merge, remove, refresh, detach, and all, which determines how operations are propagated to related entities. The default cascading type is none, meaning no operations are cascaded automatically unless explicitly specified in the entity relationship annotations. Then interviewer started asking about SQL questions. So first he asked why search with primary keys works faster. So searches with primary keys are faster because database index primary keys by default. This indexes creates a structured pathway that allows the database management system to quickly locate and retrieve the data associated with a primary key and significantly reducing the search time compared to non-index fields. Then he asked about exist and how it is used. So exist is an SQL keyword, as we know, and it is used to check for the existence of rows in a subquery. It returns true if the subquery returns at least one row. This is useful in conditional statement and allowing us to perform actions or retrieve data only when specific conditions are met in related tables. Guys, then he asks the max limit of varchar and difference between byte and character. The max limit of varchar depends on basically database system. In MySQL, it is 65,535 bytes. The difference between byte and char in the context. A byte represents a unit of digital data storage, while char represent character, which may require one or more byte depending on the character encoding used. Then he has a difference between 2NF and 3NF. So 2NF, that is second normal form, eliminates partial dependency of any column on the primary key, ensuring all attributes depends fully on the primary key. The third normal form, that is 3NF, goes further by removing transitive dependencies where attributes should not depend on the other non-primary key attributes, ensuring direct dependency on the primary key only. Okay. Then he asked SQL query and coding questions to write. So the SQL question was, write a query to find top 10 employees detail having salary greater than an average salary of the employees in the company. Okay. And the coding question was, write code using Stream API to sort list of a string based on its length. So these were two questions. I have provided the solution for both of these in the description below. So guys, this is all about Oracle technical interview experience, and don't forget to check interview preparation kit below in the description. Thank you.